So what I'm going to do again is just go through the exercises 1 and 2 from the end of chapter 1. Just watch for right now. Don't try to follow along because you're going to miss some steps or whatever. If you have questions, you'll have plenty of time to work on this. This is all that we're going to be doing today, is doing these 2 exercises. I do have a lot of lab simulators to add to that as well, and that can be the rest of your time as well for later on. To log on to this, I'm doing a Control-Alt-Insert. You have to click it in. Oh, wrong screen. Control-Alt-Insert. The administrator password. Sorry in the lab sheets that this has been so confusing. I get the double $ fixed and then it disappears again. And then other people trying to fix it has made the lowercase and uppercase P a confusion. The official password should be the uppercase P A $ W0RD. And this is interesting how that shows up in Angel. The first exercise on page 30 deals with using the map tool. You'll download and install the map 7.0 on your test server. You'll then inventory the hardware and software in your server and determine whether Windows Server can be installed on the server or not. Server 2012 can be installed or not. For this purpose, the exercises, we're naming it Server 9. That is what you should have named your server. I talked about having a static IP address. You know, we'll choose a regular IP address. We'll come back to that later on. We want to take a look at that. So we have our server up and running. It's called Server 9. We actually need to do 2 things. We need to install the map software, but we also need to install a .NET Framework 4.5, or yeah, 4.5. I'm going to show you how to do that. How you can do that, it's kind of easy when you're working in a virtual environment, is that you do have a direct connection between your local computer and the server because you're installed VMware tools. So I'm just going to make this into a window. So it's still going to be here. But I'm just going to make this into a window. And then I'm going to find those files that I downloaded and that I had to download. Mine are underneath ISO images, Windows, Server Admin. So remember all those files that I had to copy at some point? The 2 files that we're going to need today are .NET FX45 full and then the map setup tool. All you have to do is kind of have both windows open here, your Server Admin window, or, well, my Server Admin, but your Windows Explorer, and then your server desktop, and you can drag and drop them onto your server desktop. So I'm dragging and then dropping. And it says it's copying the file. I'm going to do the same thing for the .NET 4.5. You don't need to do the 4.0 first. That's pretty small. Now once those are copied, I like going in full screen mode by going Control-Alt-Enter. I like to see my server or whatever operating system I'm working with being the entire full screen, so I'm not having to, you know, like, oh, what screen am I on, or get confused by the start buttons or whatever. In addition, I like this bar being gone, so I click on this little pin. If I put the pin on there, it pins it up on top. It actually gets in the way for some things. You can't get there, so I unpin it. And again, it just gives me a better feel of this being my full environment. The first thing I need to install is the .NET 4.5. I double click on it. This is a really small installer because it's going out to the internet and getting the rest of it. So depending on the connections and how many people are doing this, it may take a little while, but we'll go ahead and do it anyway. I read and accept the license terms. And then start the download. So it does take a couple minutes to install. Just be patient with it. It will finish. When you're done, just click Finish. It shouldn't make you reboot. If it does ask you to reboot, though, go ahead and do that because you will need to have installed completely for the map setup to work. So looking at the exercise, step 1 is installing Server 2008, which you've done. Step 2 is download the map software, which is right here. Step 3 says open the README for our map. Don't worry about that. We'll just go along with it. Step number 4 is double click on the Microsoft Assessment and Planning Toolkit setup file or map. And so I'm just going to double click on that. And this is a pretty quick install overall. And step 5 says follow the prompts of the wizard by accepting all the defaults. So I just click Next. I accept the licensing agreement and click Next. The default location is fine. Here it talks about a customer experience improvement plan. Are you willing to participate anonymously, or you don't want to join the program at the time? I'm going to click I don't want to join the program at this time, but you can choose whatever you want. And then click next and then install. And wait for it to install. When it's done installing, it's going to say it's successfully installed, and it's a checkbox to open up the Microsoft Assessment and Planning Toolkit automatically. And we do want to do that. Now, some of these next steps don't match exactly word for word all the directions in here. I don't know if you have a different version or just very, very minor changes, but where it tells you to look for some things, they're just not named the same, so just be aware of that. The first step in the exercise is for this, for number 7, it says in the Microsoft Assessment and Planning Toolkit dialog box, type test DB in the database field name. So the very first thing you have to do is create a database. And the database is going to hold all the analysis of all the machines that you're analyzing to see if they're upgradable. They're going to say, yes, you can upgrade this one, or no, that one's not ready. So we're going to call it test DB according to the instructions. Then we click OK. And then it brings us back to the main collection screen. The next step, it says the steps to complete section in the middle pane, click Go beside the Perform an Inventory option. This is where that screen is just a little bit different when it comes up. There isn't a steps to complete, there's a where to start section, and that's where you're going to find your Perform an Inventory. And there's no Go button, you just click right on Perform an Inventory. So you're going to begin gathering information about your environment for assessment. Now, on the next step, step 10, it says in the inventory, what do you want to select? And you have VMware computers, you have Link servers, SQL servers, you have all kinds of stuff that you've been looking at, from desktops to servers. We're looking at Windows computers, all Windows computers. So anything that runs Windows is what we're looking at. And I click Next. Which method do you use to discover the computers? You can discover them using Active Directory domain services. We don't have Active Directory installed yet. We haven't gotten that far, so we're not going to use that method. The other method that we will be using in step 11, we'll be using scanning an IP range. So it's going to scan everything in an IP range and then tell you, what it found and what it can do with it. So I'm going to click Next. Now the starting IP range. In the book, there's having you basically type in just the IP address of your server. I want you to scan the entire subnet that we're working with. So that is going to be 192.168.118.1, and then the ending address is 192.168.118.255. Once you click on that, just click back until you get the Next button. And that's the range that's going to be scanning. The next thing, in order to actually do an inventory of computers, it needs to be able to log on to the computers. So we're going to give it the different accounts that it's going to try to log on from, or log on to. So we're going to create an account, and it's going to be logging on to Server 9, specifically with, so it's Server 9 / with the administrator user account. Now this is where it gets tricky again. It depends which password you use when you create your server. If you use the capital P or the lowercase p, or missed the $signs completely because they weren't there. But it should be capital P a $W0RD, capital P a $W0RD. Ultimately, you'd be having different accounts for different computers, and you keep adding them and adding them and adding them and saying save, and a new one, save, a new one. This is the only one we're really checking, so we just can click save. Okay, so now that's the administrator account I'm going to log on to. I'm scanning the entire IP range. I can click next, and I click next again, just past this. This is what it's going to be doing. Server a synopsis. It's looking for Windows computers. It is going to use an IP address range, and it's going to log in with this username. Make this window just a little bit bigger. So, being on a network, it's going to look for 254, it's scanning the entire network, it's looking for 254 different devices. It found one, and it's still going to be collecting information on 253 others if it can find them. This can take a few minutes to get past the 253, then after that it does go a little bit more quickly. When you're all done, it's going to ultimately say 0 collections remaining, and it found 254. It's running the assessment right now. And the assessment is complete. Once it's complete, you can close this window. And now here again, it's just a little bit different than the instructions are giving. But we want to look at servers. The server scenarios in the map toolkit provide discovery and readiness assessment for servers. So if I click on servers, so out of my servers, one of them is ready. So the server that I found, it's ready to be upgraded to Windows Server 2008. In fact, that's what it is already. And it says I can upgrade to 2012, that this machine is ready to upgrade. The next step, it says click the Generate the Report or Proposal option. After I click on the Server 2000 tab or tile or window here, it brings up a more detail. So out of all the servers that it found, and it found one of them is ready to be upgraded. So that's a good sign. If I had 5 servers, it would tell you that 2 of the 3 would be ready to be upgraded, or 4 of the 5, or whatever. And then it gives a detailed report of why it meets it or doesn't meet it. That's where this report comes in. It's this Generate Windows Server 2000 report, and if you scroll over, it says Proposal. You click on that, and it actually generates an Excel spreadsheet and a Word document. And that's done as well. Now, it doesn't just show it to you, though, unfortunately. I'm not sure why, or bring it up into some kind of standard format. It saves it as a Word document in an Excel spreadsheet, and so you need something to open it up with. I'm going to just minimize my map tool, and then I can navigate to this. We don't have anything on our server. We don't have Word or Excel on our server to work with this. So the instructions in the exercise pretty much say, copy it back to your client, and then use Word or Excel to open it from there. So I'm going to do the same thing again here. I'm going to sort of, put this in a window. And I'm going to start navigating now, though. I'm clicking, this is Windows Explorer on the server. And it's under the Documents folder. And then underneath Map. And then there's a Test DB folder. These are those reports that it created. An Excel file and then a Word document. I'm going to take both of these files. I'm going to drag them over to the desktop of my client computer. And I'm just going to minimize my virtual machine just to get it out of the way for right now. And I don't need this folder anymore. It's an old one. Get rid of those. And these are the current ones I just created. 9/5/2013 at 9:58 a.m. To take a look at these, I can just right-click on, or I can just double-click on them if I have Word and Excel. I don't have Word and Excel. It's not going to work out very well. I will show you the Word document, though. I'm just going to open it up with LibreOffice. You will have Word and Excel on your computer, so these will, work much better. But here's the report that it makes. Windows Server 2012 Readiness Assessment Summary Report. Actually, it comes up with a table of contents and 13 pages, executive review, and so forth. And it tells you pretty much everything. A lot of it's an advertisement, in my opinion. Every app, any cloud. Modern style, work style enabled, and so forth. But then it actually gets to real information, such as these are your results. System requirements met, all of your servers met the system requirements, or what percent did or didn't. And then if there were, shortcomings, where were those shortcomings? What were they running before? So a lot of details. And then the Excel spreadsheet will have more information as well. So you can go through that. Then the rest of the examples will tell you, what to look for and just sort of navigating through those reports. But you can do that on your own. Any questions on exercise 1?